Okay, we're going to do the three, two, one, Larry.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast. We've got a special guest this week, Bill Klehm, CEO of eBliss Global, and it's a pleasure. I've heard a lot of good things about you, Bill.
Thank you, Larry.
Without further ado, tell everybody out there what you do, how you do it, how you can be reached.
Sure. So Larry, first of all, and thanks for everybody for having me join. It's an exciting time in the marketplace, exciting time for my companies. I actually have two companies. So first company is eBliss Global. So we design, build, manufacture, and sell electric bicycles that are being made in the United States. So we are in the process of launching a factory in upstate New York. We announced last week to first time ever a scaled manufacturer of e-mobility products will be originating those vehicles from the United States. So again, there's a few craftsman builders who build a couple hundred to maybe 1,000 bikes, but there's over 2 million e-bikes sold in the U.S. And quite frankly, with 140 components on an e-bike, there's no reason why they couldn't be manufactured here. So we're doing it. So we had a press conference and announced the state of New York has given us some economic development cash. We're actually getting some more cash as well, and we're building a factory in upstate New York. I will be there Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We'll be doing almost 30 meetings with the local community, and again envisioning an e-mobility future for America, made in America. So that's one of my product areas, and I'll do a little background on me in just a few minutes. But the other product area is around using artificial intelligence to improve people's lives. And the biggest product or the biggest area that we have here is called advanced estimatics. So one of my passions is using technology to democratize information and things for consumers. So at the end of the day, if you think about the consumer journey that goes on when a consumer has an accident, you lose control of the entire situation almost from the moment of the accident. Imagine in 45 seconds you could get a very highly probable analysis of what it's going to take to get your car fixed. And imagine having a set of products and services sold through your automotive dealership that will actually help with that journey. So that is a product area that we are highly focused on. In fact, we're working with Gary and his team on rolling out that set of products right now in the Northeast, and we'll be rolling them out across the country. Just a little background on me, just so everybody knows who I am. So I grew up in Detroit. I wanted to work for the Ford Motor Company since I was 5 years old. I'm a huge student of the automotive and transportation industry. And so I got the answer to my first dream when I was 22 or 21. I went to work for Ford Motor Company. I spent 16 years being trained inside of Ford Motor Company in sales, marketing, finance, operations, all the things that you do as a young executive. And I learned an awful lot about the industry. I learned an awful lot about the company, learned a lot about car dealers because I called on thousands of car dealers. So it was a phenomenal educational experience. At some point, the auto industry was doing what the auto industry does, and I decided at I think 38 years old, I decided I was going to quit my job working for the Ford Motor Company and go do another company. So I went to go run an automotive dealer services business. We had 3,000 car dealers as clients. The company was called NuGen. We took it over 18 months to 7,000 car dealers. We were the largest CRM provider of automotive dealership CRM services in the marketplace by a long shot. So we built that company as a SaaS business over several years. Wonderful journey, learned a ton, met a lot of amazing people, learned even more about the automotive dealership environment through that job. And then because I have this incredibly inquisitive mind, I hadn't done enough stupid things in my life, so I decided to do another one, and that's start a business. So I decided to find a piece of technology and start a business. So was living in San Diego, California, and I found a piece of mechanical technology, and we started a transmission business, raised about $160 million, built a patent portfolio of over 800 patents and 16,000 patent claims, you can go Google the Wall Street Journal and Google called the patent scorecard, and you can see in 2008 we had the #1 patent portfolio for our potential impact on the transportation industry. So quite proud of the journey that myself and my team went on for there. Then that business ended up selling, doing other things. So I decided at that point I wanted to try and do some other things in my life. I wanted to try some other things. So I started a home services business, did that for a couple of years. And then I got back into electric bikes and e-bikes. So a little bit about my history with e-mobility. So in 2003, we started Fallbrook Technologies. NuVinci was the brand. And by 2008, we had a product in the marketplace, mostly in Europe. And for those who don't know, e-mobility in Europe has been a thing for a long time, since 2008, 9, 10. And our transmission created such an experience for the user that it became, quite frankly, the standard for e-bikes and e-mobility in Europe. And I remember standing on a stage at the Dutch bicycle show called Fietsvaak, and I remember winning Bike of the Year. The bike won the award. My transmission was on it, was creating the experience. So it was the first e-bike that won a Bike of the Year in Europe. And that was a big transition. That was 2008 or 2009. And the big change, and I stood on stage and talked about this, that this burgeoning e-mobility industry was going to go to Europe and then was going to come to the U.S. And as I said at that event, I look forward very much to leading an effort to bring e-mobility to the U.S. at the same way it became a standard of transportation across Europe. And now it's happening, right? 2016, there was 60,000 e-bikes sold in America. Last year, arguably over 2 million sold. That is the fastest growing form of transportation in the world. So in my eBliss journey, as we've been running down the road, we started on the product. So we spent quite a bit of time on engineering and operations to build what I call an excuse-free product. I think Gary rides one around, so I think he'll attest that they work pretty well. And we spent a lot of time on the product. Then we worked on distribution. So we experimented with a few distribution channels. One of the distribution channels we experimented with is with auto dealers. And we do think that auto dealers are an excellent distribution system for this form of transportation. I think what you will see with us, and we ran down the road and signing a few auto dealers and had some experiments with that. But one of the things we discovered is that we had to do a better job of providing those auto dealers with a services platform that allowed them to satisfy the needs of the customer for accessories and services and other stuff. So as eBliss now goes out into the marketplace with this new omni-channel strategy, you will see us embracing auto dealers as well as e-bike retailers. But again, right now we are just super excited about this opportunity. We are definitely riding the Made in America wave, although we had started that before the Made in America wave voted in our new president. We were very much on that journey anyways, but now everybody else has joined it, and we are super excited to be able to lead the effort to bring jobs back to the U.S., but also to bring a better form of transportation and allow consumers those options.
Hey, Bill, I'm getting a serious sense of deja vu here.
Tell me.
When I had my agency, my Cadillac dealership, I had an interview show, and one of the gentlemen that I interviewed was talking about how he saw e-bikes. And when I mentioned his name, you might be able to correlate. It was Malcolm Bricklin.
Sure.
He had brought Subaru into the country. He mistakenly, not his fault, brought the Yugo into the country the same year in '86 that Hyundai showed up. But he was saying, "Man, I've my whole head's now wrapped around these e-bikes. I just think it's going to be a comer." And this has got to be 15, 16 years ago.
Oh, it's more than. I think you're dating yourself, because I believe Malcolm was going on 20. But yeah, I think it was. So let's talk about that just for a minute. So do you know? So there was a guy that ran Chrysler that was quite famous called Lee Iacocca, if you remember that name.
Know him
So
well. I've written about him in my book.
so Lee Iacocca, interesting man. So when Lee Iacocca was running Chrysler, and then he decided to start an e-bike business within his environment. The first dealership that he went to was called Crystal Chrysler, and it was Crystal Chrysler in Palm Springs. And Bob Scheer was the dealer, and Bob's a very good friend of mine. And Bob was actually my number 2 customer at NewGen when I launched. And so I actually have the TV commercial that they shot, Lee Iacocca and he shot inside their dealership. And then the other interesting story is there's a museum on the eastern side of Florida. It's in Jensen Beach, and the name is right now escaping me. But inside that museum is one of those bikes that from Lee Iacocca. And so we donated one of our bikes to go sit next to it as a to show people the progression of e-bikes. But anyways, Larry, very interesting. Malcolm Bricklin.
Not only did Ford's ego make a mistake letting the Iacocca go, but he's arguably the greatest car pitchman of all time. You don't see anybody else from any other EO, walk up and say, watch. I mean, what he did, the guts he had to push that company along, because he admits when he got into it, he had no idea how screwed up they were, how many unreported cars that were reported, et cetera, et cetera. The money that he had to borrow, how quickly he paid it back. I mean, you talk about an amazing, amazing story. And that's years after he revolutionized everything with the Mustang.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I view about history, right? So our job as the historians for this industry are to remember those lessons, because the lessons will be said again, right? I mean, these things will all come out again. They'll just come out differently.
And those that forget history are doomed to repeat it.
Absolutely. So what is the average price? What's the average selling price of a car today, right? $58,000, something like that, right? What's the average car loan? Almost 7 years, because people can't afford to pay these things.
Yep.
The dynamics in this industry are changing at a pace that I don't think everybody truly appreciates, of how fast these dynamics are changing. And in as a retailer and as a wholesaler and as a manufacturer, our roles are all changing in this industry as the speed of thought accelerates, right? So this world is now moving at the speed of thought. So as fast as you can code things is as fast as you can make and create value. So if you are not understanding and adapting to that changing environment, you're going to, just to your point, Larry, you're going to be doomed to repeat, or you're going to be rolled up, or you're going to be rationalized, but you're going to lose, right?
And Bill, we've seen examples of this forever. When I first got into the business, this is going to sound amusing. There were dealers like, wholesale cars. I'm not interested in that. The used car business. I'm a new car dealer. I'll just wholesale that.
Yeah.
There were guys that quit the business when computers. I'm not dealing with any computers. It's. I always quote my hero Ben Franklin, who said, "When you're finished changing, you're finished."
Oh, listen,
Darwin
Larry.
said that survival of the fittest revolves around not who's the biggest or the strongest, but who's the best at adapting. And
Larry,
what happens when you don't adapt?
Larry, we have a symbiotic relationship, because I completely agree. You start dying when you stop learning.
Wait a minute. If you have a symbiotic relationship with me, I would get your mental stability checked out by a professional.
Yeah. I didn't say I wasn't going to. So and I didn't need to.
Hey, I could hear the secretary now. Hey, there's a nutty-looking guy who just pulled in on an e-bike.
Yeah. Weirder things have happened, let me tell you. So again, I think about all these things around the pace of change and about what's going on. Somebody asked me, Bill, why in the world did you do an AI company when you do an e-bike company? Well, one, because I have an insatiable appetite to learn, and the way I learn is I get into it, right? I have an incredibly inquisitive nature. I can't stop digging around to go find things. I wanted to find where AI was really going to fit, and how, because my sense was 2 years ago when I joined. My sense was it was going to be revolutionary. I didn't know what that meant. Now I needed to go find out. So, and the other interesting thing that's happening around these tools and these things going on out there is how fast the system is learning, right? How fast. So when you think about doing an analysis, like when we started playing around with this tool, this advanced estimatics tool, start playing around with it, right? You take 4 pictures, you scan a VIN, and within 40 seconds, this thing can look inside the vehicle. It'll take millions of data points that are running behind the scenes, and it will say the pattern recognition says when that fender is bent, right, that you have to replace that support member, right? You're gonna have this amount of labor. All those things are known, right? They've all been learned. It's just relating the picture to an estimate, and we took millions of data points and we built this thing, and now it works. And now what do you do with it? What I want to do with it is I want to take it to the lowest common denominator. I want to give the dealer an advantage. I want to weld the customer with this tool to the dealership, right? That is a huge opportunity for the dealer. By the way, it was funny, everybody was kind of talking about new car changes and new car dealers. Everybody remembers when new car dealers didn't want to do non-warranty work. They didn't want to do customer pay service, right? I mean, I remember in 1985, dating myself, going into a dealership and he says, I don't care about that. I got warranty work. Well, then what happened? Then then the cars got better, right? Everybody starts complaining. I want higher warranty rates. No. You need to get in the customer pay business, right? So one of my jobs at Ford, I was responsible for the strategy for maintenance and light repair and growing the business inside of Ford. That was my job. So we went out and we put dealers in the tire business. So I rolled out the tire program for Ford Motor Company. I rolled out scheduled maintenance. Honda was doing by far and away the best job of managing the customer relationship on scheduled maintenance and customer pay work. So what do we do? Stand on the shoulders of giants. Let's go learn what they did. Let's improve it. And that's what we did, again, going back 1997, 1998. We rolled that out. So I've seen these changes. I've seen this industry change. When I was at NuGen, we had 7,000 car dealers, and we had the best response rate in the world for direct marketing. 35% response rate. People spent money at the dealership when we messaged. But what we did was every single night, most dealers were running old IBM AS400 boxes. We would literally dial into the dealership and we would bring down all their sales and service data, and we would organize our campaigns around what customers needed at age and mileage specific, and we did that all night. And then the next day we would start the campaigns for the customer, and it was a letter phone call campaign. Super innovative. Today it'd be nothing to pull off. At the time, I had a 1,000-person organization. I had 800 people in a call center that were calling people on the phone. Think about how that could be done today. Anybody could do that today with their phone, right? So you watch that technology journey, how fast this is accelerating. So I want to be able to take those learnings and those things and that knowledge that I have and deploy it into products in the marketplace. So the 2 of them that I have right now, e-bikes and estimatics or advanced estimatics. Those are the 2 things that I believe my responsibility are to get out there and to put it as many places as possible.
That's great. Hey,
now, what's the easiest way for them to get a hold of you, Bill? And then Mike had a question.
Yeah, I got a question, but go ahead.
So there's a few ways. One, obviously, you can. Yes, Gary, you want to say something, Gary? Go ahead.
You can call me to get in touch with Bill.
Yeah, I was just going to say
I'm going to do that right after the show.
So the guy in the Northeast for us, Gary's running around out there doing a great job. Just he's stuck with us as we've kind of built all of this, and he's now, I think we're getting ready to get going. So absolutely through Gary, you can get a hold of me for sure. Otherwise, you can just go on to the eBliss Global website and send a message over there, and I can get it. You can also go on to the Advanced Estimatics website, and you can also get a message to me there. And lastly, I'm on LinkedIn, so you can reach me on LinkedIn. Last name is Klehm. First name is William or Bill. Very active on LinkedIn and do a lot of messaging. Mike, you had a question. You were going to say something.
Yeah, just you're a great visionary in today's day and age, and I look at history, and we're living history right now.
Right now.
And what's being done, as you described, what used to take 1,000 people now can be done with a press of a button with the computer you got in your hand.
Yep.
But what is your vision going forward? This time next year, maybe 2 years, as far as the bikes, what is your vision of the standard SOP for a rooftop that has your product in it? What are they going to sell it separate, or maybe it's they sell Jeeps, and it's a perfect opportunity for them to latch onto the back of it? How do you see that working?
So, Mike, as you think about this, right, think about what the role of a dealer really is. Isn't the role of a dealer to understand what the consumer is going to have as their lifestyle, and then to provide them with transportation alternatives that fit their lifestyle? So the way I think about this is, I think the auto dealer is going to be doing a diagnostic, asking the questions. Mike, what do you want to do? Like, what do you do, right? Do you take that Jeep and do you go off-roading? What kind of lifestyle do you like? Hey, if you do that, we've got these fantastic products we can go finance with your vehicle, right? Because that's one of our things. You can finance them as an accessory. They're doing it today, right? Put running boards, wheels, tires, lights, stick a rack on there and put an e-bike on the back of it. So I think that the progressive auto dealers are going to be looking at the needs of their consumers. They're going to be identifying what products and services those consumers are going to be wanting, and then why in the world aren't they selling them to them? They have, if you just think about what the auto dealer has, 1.2 million people a day walk into a car dealer in the U.S. and make money. It is a $1.2 trillion industry. If it was ranked as a country, I think it would be the 5th, 6th, or 7th largest country in the world. That is the auto dealer business in the U.S. It's a stunning economic powerhouse. They have not been historically organized for this, right? So sometimes, as my friends who are car dealers tell me, Bill, I struggle to sell cars, right? So I struggle to sell cars. Larry, you mentioned it was a new car store. Well, I struggle to sell used cars. So again, they struggle. The ones who are going to succeed long term are going to be the ones who look at the consumer and say, I want to be your transportation solution. I want to be that. I have told many dealers, right, when you drive to Tampa or you look at Florida and you look in communities in these warmer areas, you don't see any cars. You see golf carts, right? Everybody jokes about the villages in Central Florida. Let me tell you something. I've been to the villages. The village golf cart stores look like car dealers. I mean, they're doing a lot of business in that.
Yeah.
This is all about the mile, right? So here's some other statistics for you guys just to digest and for your listeners to enjoy. So there's a roughly 119 million rides in a car every day in America. That's 119 million times that one individual gets in a car and drives, right? 119 million times every single day. Of that 119, 30 million of those are under 1 mile. Just take a step back and say 30 million times every day in America, one individual gets in a car and drives less than a mile. Everybody say along with me, that's ridiculous, right? It's the worst thing you possibly can do for a car, right? Get in a car, don't let it warm up, drive it a mile, turn it off. Terrible for the car, right? Worse for fuel economy. Cars are designed to get on highways and roll. That's what they're
Bill,
designed.
not so good for your physique either.
Exactly, right? So if you think about this, so if you're in Europe, you're going to take a piece of public transportation, you're going to ride a bike, or you're going to walk, right? That same thing is happening in the U.S. The other big trend that's happening in the U.S. is this localization of our lives. So think about everybody on this call. Friday night, we're going to take our spouse, significant other, we're going to go out to dinner. We only think of the 3 restaurants we ever go to because that's how we think. And we think about how close it is going to be to home, right? So everybody has this 15-minute thought process in their lives because we're so busy, we're running around so much, right? We want to be close. We're not interested. So I had friends in LA in the 80s who moved to Los Angeles in the 80s and 90s. And, 2 hours to work, common. Who wants to do that anymore, right?
Yeah.
One, you commute or you video commute, right? You get on the phone. Or two, you don't go. You change jobs, right? So there's this whole notion, Mike, back to your 1 year from now or 2 years from now. What I think we're going to be seeing 1 to 2 years from now is bringing together of all these things into a solution for a consumer that's going to say, what do you want to do with your life? By the way, with the price of cars accelerating, the length, you've got to have a $120,000 a year job to be able to afford the average car in America today, right? Just to get financed. So, and when you're looking at how these cars are being contented and how the OEMs have to charge so much for the cars because they put so much technology in it, they can't get a payback. So these cars aren't going to be becoming less and less expensive. And then you add into all of this the Chinese, right? And you add into this the Chinese that have organized their entire industrial complex around making these kinds of forms of transportation much more affordable to their consumer base, right? Because their consumer base doesn't make, $30,000 a year on average, right? Or $40,000. They're not making that much money. So they've got to bring their transportation cost per unit down. So they've organized their industrial complex to make cars, very nicely appointed cars, very inexpensive to get there. That's a big threat to the U.S. because we as a country, and again, agree with Donald Trump, don't agree with Donald Trump. I agree with rebalancing trade. I think that's a mandatory thing. I think we've been taken advantage of. Don't disagree with any of that. One of the things that we don't do as well as other countries is support our industries that support our taxpayers.
There's always been a strain of America that's anti-protectionism, and inevitably the people within the system pay the price. Look at what's happened by losing jobs overseas, and now the insanity of bringing in so many foreign workers who lessen the pay rate for people, and that's why it blew my mind that unions are behind Democrats.
If you look at other countries, right, Japan, they organize their entire keiretsu to support their auto industry because it's so important for them to have an export plan, right? You look at China, they've got a 10-year plan that they update every year. 10 years they go out. And by the way, some would argue who are listening to this, they have a 50-year plan. Not untrue, they do. But that 10-year plan, we've got a 4-year experiment. Right, so we run every 4 years, and then we change them, and every 2 years if you're a congressman, right? So we get this going back and forth, right? Whereas those guys are taking this long-term investment view. One, they align government, they align their research, they align everything around their industries and around supporting employment. We think, right? We have people in government who want to throw stones at the people who are running the country, who run the companies. Right? And they want to be in conflict with them because they're forgetting the fact that the only reason they have a job is because those people have made money that supports the taxes that support. So this whole...
Bill, I'm going to date myself now. I remember when the common sense logic, which has now disappeared, is the political arguing ends at the water's edge.
Oh, totally.
You're a pretty smart guy, Larry, for a 21-year-old.
You, Larry.
And I got scars on my leg that are older than 20
I got the mental.
We like to keep our time a little limited so we get more views. If you don't mind me unilaterally asking, because I know how Gary feels about you and Mike's in, let's do a part 2 of this in the near future.
Hey, listen, you guys are great. Gary's a great friend. Mike's doing great. I follow every day what you guys are doing. Super supportive. Looking forward to part 2. We would love to have some introductions to some things that we got coming out. So we do have some more announcements. So we'd love to be able to share them with you guys and have you share them with your viewers and your listeners.
Done. And I'm going to reach out to Gary, get your number. I'd like to talk to you also. It was a pleasure having you here. Gary, thank you so much for bringing this gentleman in. And Mr. Larkin, thank you for setting everything up. Mike's our tech guy. If it was up to me, this would be by candlelight, and we'd have 2 strings and a tin can.
It's okay. I got puppets. I got shadow puppets. I'm good. I can do whatever you want.
Oh, you've seen my training presentation.
Rabbit. Yeah.
All good. Whatever.
Everybody stay healthy, Bill. What a pleasure it was to meet you.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Bye,
Nice
guys.
weekend. Thanks for everybody's time.
Boy, what a cool guy. Smart as hell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've been impressed. I watched this guy on a couple of interviews, and I'm very impressed with him.
Yep. Gary, when you get a minute, shoot me his cell number. I'd love to have a chat with him.
Absolutely.
We could probably waste a lot of time talking about history and crap.
Nice job, Mike Larkin.
Good job.
We're going
Nice
to end
job
that stream
streaming.
on that note. 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye. All right. So that was great. That's the live, and it is what it is. I don't know about the recording, but I recorded all that. Thank you, Gary. He was controlling the pictures. I'm like, okay, great. Just the standard what we've been doing. So awesome. We'll see what we get.
Talk to you soon, my friend.
All right. So